She ran swim lessons in my dead husband's pool without asking, so I filled it with ice and waited. Karen used my pool for swim lessons, so I filled it with ice and filmed her slip. Part 1. The pool that wasn't theirs, and the grief that wouldn't stay quiet. She used to hold his hand right there, at the pool's edge, where the water once danced with sunlight, just like the life they thought they'd share forever. Now, strangers laughed in that same space. Splashes echoed where she had once, quietly, broken. The wedding ring still clenched in her fist, eyes stinging with something far worse than chlorine. At first, Alina thought it was just a bad dream, one of grief's cruel hallucinations. But then that voice came again, shrill, commanding, real. "Kick harder, girls! Straight legs! We've got a showcase in 2 weeks!" She stood frozen by the kitchen sink, coffee trembling in her hand. That voice wasn't from a memory. It was Karen. It had started small, a splash, a giggle. Just neighborhood kids, maybe? Her late husband, Jason, had always said they'd need to secure the fences, that the neighborhood was growing too fast. But cancer had come faster. And grief? Grief doesn't build walls. It just watches. Until that morning, when Alina pulled back the curtain and saw 3 children swimming in her pool. In it. Not near it. Not by mistake. Swimming. While a woman in a wide-brimmed hat barked instructions like she ran the place. Karen. She was running swim lessons in Jason's pool. Part 2. The schedule, the smirk, and the day she didn't scream. Alina walked outside, barefoot, the warmth of the stone beneath her feet doing nothing to soften what she was seeing. There she was. Karen. Pinning a laminated schedule to a patio chair, as if she were organizing a school fundraiser, not trespassing. Alina's voice barely found air. "Excuse me, what exactly is going on here?" Karen turned, beaming like she'd just been complimented. "Oh, hi, sweetie. Just giving a few swim lessons. The parents love it. It's so local and private. Hope it's okay. You weren't using it." Hope it's okay. You weren't using it. Alina's mouth opened, but her thoughts scattered like dry leaves in wind. This pool. It wasn't just concrete and tile. Jason had designed it himself. Every curve, every tile edge. They had picked them from a dusty catalog they laughed over for weeks. It was the last thing he built before chemo turned pencils into lead weights. He never even got to swim in it. And now it was a stranger's summer camp? Hope it's okay? No, it wasn't. But Alina didn't scream, didn't cry, didn't even argue. She turned and walked back inside, sat on the same bar stool she hadn't moved since the funeral, stared out the window, stared through Karen's voice echoing across the water. "Good job, Rachel! Tighter arms! Remember what Coach Karen said?" Coach Karen. She wasn't even hiding it anymore. Part 3. The charter, the curtain, and the lie, dressed as law. The next morning, Karen was back. But this time, she came with signs. One taped to Alina's gate. Swim class. Tuesdays and Thursdays. Another by the pool. No diving. Coach Karen's rules. Alina stepped outside. Each footstep heavier than the last. Karen didn't flinch. She adjusted her sun hat, pointed at the kids lining up by the pool, and said casually, "Technically, the HOA charter says any outdoor amenity not locked and visible from a common space is considered public-facing. So, since your gate isn't locked, and you live within lakeside view, that makes it community property." Then she added, like a cherry on poison, "It's just a pool. Don't be selfish." Alina stared at her. This wasn't ignorance. It was audacity masquerading as friendliness. She wanted to say everything. That Jason had drawn this backyard with his bare hands. That he sketched the waterfall stones between chemo treatments. That she watched him die before he could take a single swim. But her lips stayed closed. No one would hear it. So she turned again and walked back inside. Later that afternoon, she called the HOA. No one answered. She left a message. No one called back. The next morning, an email. Dear resident, your concerns have been reviewed. As your home is within the Lakeside View community, outdoor amenities without key access fall under shared neighborhood enjoyment. Thank you for promoting inclusivity. Inclusivity. That word sliced deeper than any insult. This wasn't sharing. This was erasure. Part 4. The cameras, the cones, and the chill that changed everything that night. Alina opened the drawer Jason once used for his drone gear. His old security cams still wrapped in careful silence. She unpacked them slowly, deliberately, like she was handling memory itself. By midnight, the cameras were mounted, discreet, high along the fence line, hidden beneath the patio's shadow. The pool lights stayed off. Karen didn't show, but Alina stayed up anyway, reviewing the footage like a detective in mourning. Each motion capture, each second. Wasn't just surveillance, it was a lifeline, something she could hold that wasn't loss. 2 days later, Karen returned, with even more noise, more kids, plastic cones, laminated charts. It looked like Olympic tryouts. Alina didn't cry. Not this time. She watched from the kitchen window, one hand on her coffee, the other clenched around nothing. Karen barked orders, whistled sharp enough to cut sky, gestured toward Alina's house like she owned it, like her pain had expired. But this wasn't about the pool anymore. It was about disrespect, about theft, about someone turning her grief into a business model. Alina walked to the fridge, pulled out a bottle of Jason's old hydration mix, and poured herself a glass. The ice clinked. She stared at it, then whispered, "It's just a pool." And for the first time in months, she smiled, not with warmth, but with something colder, sharper, because it wasn't just a pool. It was a promise, and soon it would be revenge. Part 5. The freeze, the footage, and the slip heard round the block. The next morning arrived in fog, not the poetic kind, the thick, damp kind that makes every sound feel louder, more violating. Alina didn't open her curtains. She didn't have to. The sharp screech of folding chairs, the clang of gear dumped onto cement, the shrill whistle slicing through silence. All told, her Karen was back. 6 children this time, 2 chatting moms in flip-flops. And Karen, still shouting like she was training for the Olympics. Alina tied her hair into a low knot. No makeup, no tears. They wanted a grieving widow? They'd get something else entirely. She stepped onto the patio, calm, arms crossed. Karen didn't even flinch. "We're using the shared neighborhood pool space," she chirped, as if quoting scripture. Section 12-3. No posted restriction, no gate lock, permitted access. Alina looked past her, at the children, the cones, the laminated signs taped to chairs. "You're running unlicensed swim lessons in someone else's backyard," she said quietly. "You're putting kids at risk." Karen raised her sunglasses, smirked. "Then prove it. Call someone." Alina didn't blink. "I will." Karen laughed, then turned her back. "Rachel, elbows higher. Better." Alina walked inside, picked up her phone, called the HOA. No answer. Called the city clerk. Got redirected. Zoning board. "It'll take 4 to 6 weeks to investigate." Longer. if it involved easement interpretation. Easement. The word felt like spit in her face. Jason had chosen this neighborhood for peace. Now it was using red tape to strangle his memory. That night, Alina sat in the dark, watching camera feeds. She had names now, voices on tape, parents calling across the fence. "Coach Karen, what's the makeup policy? Do you still take cash or Venmo?" She downloaded everything, screenshot, timestamp, folder by folder. This wasn't frustration anymore. This was a case. And Alina? She wasn't building a complaint. She was crafting a reckoning. Part 6. The ice, the setup, and the trap hidden beneath the surface for the next 3 days. Alina became someone else. Not a widow. Not a victim. Not even angry. She became focused, precise. She called vendors quietly, paid in cash, used her maiden name. She ordered industrial-grade ice blocks from a supplier out of town, rented a portable freezer, tucked it behind the garage, hidden behind lattice fencing. At night, she didn't sleep. She planned. She reinforced the pool's filtration system, modified the pump to handle a colder load, adjusted the motion-triggered cameras with millimeter precision. One hard drive under the pantry floor, one locked in her bedroom, no detail left exposed. This wasn't revenge. Not really. It was a message. To Karen, to the HOA, to every neighbor who had gone quiet when she needed them most. I'm not yours to step over. The night before, she worked in silence. Block by block, she wheeled the massive sheets of ice to the pool. They hissed as they hit the water, steam rising like the breath of something ancient. She didn't rush. Her arms ached, her back screamed, but her eyes never blinked. By dawn, the pool had changed. It didn't look dangerous, but the water was sharp, biting cold, frigid enough to steal breath, to humble arrogance. She tested it with one finger. Perfect. Then wiped away every footprint, reset the cameras, and went inside. The trap was set. Part 7. The fall, the footage, and the day Karen slipped on her own ego at sunrise. Alina brewed her tea and stood at the kitchen window like she always did. Only this time, she wasn't hiding. She was waiting, right on cue. Karen strutted in through the side gate like it was her stage entrance, clipboard in hand, sunglasses perched like a crown. "All right, everyone, warm-ups. Routine changes today." Moms sipped their drinks. Kids lined up on the deck, eyes wide. Karen clapped twice, blew her whistle, and dipped a toe in the water. She hesitated, just for a second. A flicker of discomfort. Then she laughed it off. "A little cool today? But nothing you can't handle?" Arrogance makes people blind. She stepped in, deeper, bravado stiffening against the cold. Her thighs tensed, one leg twitched. Then it happened. Her heels slipped. The clipboard flew, a splash, sharp and sudden, sent water over the deck. Gasps erupted. One child squealed. A mother jumped to her feet. Karen flailed, arms windmilling, feet scrambling, face twisting in panic. Then, splash! She hit the water hard. The pool echoed with the slap. She surfaced, sputtering. Hair stuck to her forehead. Whistle bouncing uselessly on her chest. Shivering, confused, exposed. Alina stepped out onto the patio, calm, composed. A towel draped over her arm. A small smile tugging at her lips. Karen looked up, teeth chattering. "What did you do to the pool?" Alina tilted her head. "I filled it, just like you asked." Silence, then murmurs. Parents looked around. Kids huddled near their bags. Karen scrambled to the edge, hauled herself out, and hissed, "You'll pay for this." Alina held up a small device, a live feed, still rolling, still recording. "Not today," she whispered. "Not ever." Part 8. The playback, the parents, and the silence that screamed loudest. Karen lunged forward, reaching for the recording device, desperate, dripping, still wrapped in a towel of entitlement. But Alina stepped back, effortlessly. "Not today," she repeated, voice soft but final. The parents began to stir. One mother stepped forward, voice uncertain. "What's going on?" Another. "Is this true?" Karen spun to face them, eyes wide, wild. "She sabotaged the pool! She's trying to ruin me!" Alina didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. She tapped the screen and let the footage speak. Karen unlocking the side gate. Karen instructing kids, collecting money. Karen calling it community space. Karen bragging about profits. Every clip, time-stamped. Every word, clear. The shift was instant. One mom stepped back, eyes narrowing. Another grabbed her child's wrist and left without a word. One muttered, "I'm calling the HOA." Karen turned toward Alina again. "This is entrapment. This is illegal." But Alina finally stepped forward, and her voice was cold enough to match the water. "So is running a business on private property, filming minors without parental consent, and turning the last thing my husband gave me into your weekend side hustle." Karen's face twisted, blotchy, burning. But no one stood by her now. No one spoke. No one offered a towel. Alina calmly handed her a laminated envelope. Legal notices, cease and desist screenshots evidence. Karen didn't take it. She stood frozen, soaked and small. By noon. The patio was silent again. The floaties gone, the laminated signs in the trash. Alina looked out at the water, and for the first time in months, it was still. Not because she was mourning, but because Karen was gone. Part 9. The news, the knock, and the fall of Coach Karen by the next morning. The whispers had begun. Cars slowed when passing Alina's driveway, not with malice, but curiosity. Someone, no one knew who, had uploaded the footage. Straight to the neighborhood forum. No dramatic music, no voiceover, just Karen, slipping, shouting, and being caught by her own lies. Then came the real damage. Clip after clip, her unlocking the gate. Running lessons. Bragging about community rights. Accepting payments on camera. There was no defense, only proof. Pure, silent, devastating proof. Alina didn't check the comments. She didn't need to. The silence next door said everything. Karen's SUV sat in the driveway, untouched. No kids, no parents, no laughter, no music. Even the wind felt like it was avoiding that porch. Then, around 2 p.m., a beige sedan pulled up, state plates. Alina watched from the kitchen, tea in hand, calm, unreadable. 2 investigators stepped out, pressed collars, clipboards that actually mattered. They knocked on Karen's door. A long pause. Then she opened it, wrapped in a blanket, face pale and drawn. They didn't go inside. The conversation was short, firm. One of them handed her a stack of papers. She didn't take them at first. When she finally did, her hand shook. They left. She stood alone on the porch, staring at the sky, as if waiting for something to fall on her. And maybe it already had. "Alina?" She went back to her sunroom, sat in the stillness, no victory dance, no gloating, just a breath. Deep, clean, quiet, the kind of breath that doesn't hurt anymore. Part 10, the settlement, the sign, and the pool that was always hers. 3 days later. A letter arrived. Official, certified, stamped with legal weight. Karen had filed an HOA complaint against Alina, accusing her of sabotage, manipulation, malicious intent. It was dressed in legalese, but empty inside. A desperate scream wearing a necktie. Alina read it once, then slipped it into a folder labeled HOA Noise. She forwarded it to her lawyer. His reply came in a voice memo. Karen's trying to sue the shovel for digging her own grave. The counterclaim was already in motion. That week, an emergency HOA meeting was held. Alina didn't attend. She wasn't a member. Jason had insisted they never join. That decision had become the final nail. Karen was unanimously removed from her position. Terms like misuse of authority and breach of trust filled the meeting minutes. By morning, a for sale sign was stabbed into Karen's lawn. Red, bold, like a white flag, soaked in defeat. Her porch light didn't come on that night. Her curtains stayed shut, for once. The loudest woman on the block had nothing left to say. That evening, Alina walked her property line, not out of fear, but reclamation. She checked the gates, touched the rose trellis, new buds blooming again, then she stopped by the pool. No cones, no signs, no laminated lies, just water. Quiet. Heron. She sat at the edge, let her feet dip in, not icy, not stolen, just present. Later that week, her lawyer sent another letter. Karen's complaint was dropped, all charges dismissed, you're clear. Then came the final envelope. From the HOA Legal Committee. It recognized her pool, on paper forever, as private, exempt, untouchable. Alina placed the letter in the drawer beside Jason's plans and the footage drive. Then she opened a box in the shed. Inside, a small wooden sign Jason had carved years ago. No lifeguard on duty. Swim at your own risk. They never hung it. Until now. She mounted it above the gate, not as a warning, but a truth. That evening, she poured a glass of wine. 2, actually. She placed one across the table from her. Didn't speak. Didn't need to. Jason was in the stillness, in the breeze rustling the roses, in the reflection of the pool under golden light. When she finally stepped in, fully clothed, no hesitation. The water embraced her, not to drown pain, but to hold peace. Later that night, she floated, eyes closed, not escaping, just being. The pool had been a blueprint, then a battlefield. And now, a sanctuary. Not because someone gave it back, but because she took it back. With silence, with strength, with steel under every quiet breath. And as the stars scattered above her, Alina knew. She had never lost the pool. She had only waited long enough for the world to remember who it belonged to.